What is up, everybody? I'm back, and today we're going to talk about Saw 10. Yes, that's right, Saw X, the 10th installment of the franchise, on a very, very special episode of Trillium's Twisted Vlogcast. Let's get a little bit twisted real quick. Alright, without further ado, let's get into Saw 10. So, I'm going to give some background into my experience and attachment to the Saw franchise. I'm a big fan, for the most part. I watched, as a matter of fact, I watched almost all of the Saw movies leading up to when I watched Saw 10. I watched all of them except for Saw 4, 5, and 7. I don't like those. I like all the rest of them, though. More or less. Especially the first one, which is a classic to me. And I think it's about as good as independent filmmaking goes. So, Saw 10. Saw 10, I'm happy to say, is one of the better Saw movies, hands down. It is a very simple, story-driven horror film for at least the first 2/3 of the movie. This is a tale of vengeance and nothing else. There is no Detective Hoffman side character bullshit that has nothing to do with Jigsaw and the traps or anything like that. The plot of this movie essentially is John Kramer gets scammed by doctors who claim they can cure his cancer. In Mexico, nonetheless. So, he decides to turn the tables on these motherfuckers for what they did to him. So that's pretty much, that's pretty much the gist of this. John Kramer is fleshed out more in this movie than he is in any of the other Saw movies. And one of the reasons for that is he is the main character. For the first time, it only took 10 installments in this franchise for John Kramer to finally take the reins as the lead. And Tobin Bell does not let down. He does not, he is great in this, and it's great to finally get to see him do so much work with the character of John Kramer. Again, he's fleshed out in that there's moments in this movie, not a whole lot, but there's a few moments where you do feel sympathetic for him, and you understand why he's doing this. I mean, he's sick in the head, that's obviously a big part of it, but if anybody there's some Saw movies where the people that are in the traps and in the games, you're like, really? Like, that's a little harsh. Like, I don't think they really deserve that. In this one, these people are all pretty awful for the most part. So, it's very simple. Tobin Bell is the lead. And John Kramer is fleshed out, and we get to see different sides of him that we've never seen before. This is also the longest running Saw film as of now. I'm sure we'll get another one at some point, maybe. I'll get more into that in a second. It's almost 2 hours flat, and due to its increased runtime, it doesn't feel rushed. It's kind of a slow burn in some ways. The first act is very, very story driven, and it's really just John Kramer by himself, more or less. So I will get into the couple negatives I have here, because obviously this isn't Forrest Gump. It's not an amazing picture. There are some issues. Some of the traps don't deliver completely in ways that I think they're intended to. One of the big marketing for this movie has been the eye vacuum trap, which is actually the poster, the theatrical poster for this film as well. That trap, spoiler alert, ends up being just a daydream that John Kramer has when he sees this person getting ready to do something really awful, and he's thinking about what he would do to them. So that was a little disappointing, because that was the big hyped trap from the marketing, and it means nothing. It's not real. And the final trap that involves two characters is very simple, almost shockingly so. And the very ending of the movie and the trap itself kind of had me like, huh, really? That's it? It also feels This movie feels a little pointless sometimes. It tries to bridge gaps that aren't really there. It allegedly takes place between Saw 1, the original, and Saw 2. And I think this would have worked better off as a prequel to Saw, the original, but I think they really wanted Amanda, the character of Amanda, to return for this movie to give it that extra, like, legacy boost. And because it would make sense. It makes more sense for this to be his first game. And again, I know we already did that with the 8th film back in 2018, I believe. It was just called Jigsaw. But this feels like a proper prequel in many ways to me, and I guess they just decided they couldn't do that. If they did an actual prequel to the original Saw, there's no Amanda, and the studio and the fans really, really wanted Amanda to be in this movie. And, but since it is a prequel set between 1 and 2, there's nowhere to go from here. I mean, Jigsaw's dead. He dies at the end of Saw 3. There's no wiggle room for any kind of follow-up film here. And that's where, you know, as far as them doing another film, which I'm sure they will, I don't really know where there is to go from here, from a creative standpoint. I feel like they kind of have put themselves in a box. If we're being honest, they did that when they killed John Kramer off back in the 3rd film. But hey, mistakes are part of life and Hollywood. So sometimes this movie does feel a little bit pointless, and that there's nowhere to go after. There's nowhere to go after this film and this particular game that John runs. But nonetheless, this is a really good, really good Saw movie. The only other thing I can say is that it's a double-edged sword with this movie, and how I felt is that I love that the traps, there's less focus on the traps in the game and more on John and his relationship with Amanda. But I also wanted it to be focused more on the traps than it was, at times at least. Because you go into a Saw movie expecting it to be very straightforward and all about the gore. And this one definitely has that. At times. There's other times where it feels almost like a different movie a little bit. But nonetheless, I thought Saw 10 was really damn good, especially for it to be, I mean, the 10th installment in a horror franchise that doesn't have a perfect track record. This is a really good Saw movie. I've had a couple weeks to sit on it and think about it since I watched it with my girlfriend. I think it's been a couple weeks. Maybe not. Anyway, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that this is my second favorite Saw movie as of now after the original. And I really enjoy the first 3 and 6 as well. So, high praise from me. Saw 10, did you see it? What did you think about it? Let me know down below. I'm going to give Saw 10 a B-. And I had a really good time with this one. I was really looking forward to watching it, and it did not let down for me. And I was happy about that. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.